Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to Autogefühl. Back in 2016, Volvo released two concept cars, the 40.1 and the 40.2. Well, the 40.1 went on to become the extremely successful XC40. Nothing more was really mentioned about the 40.2 until now. It has been taken over by the performance arm of Volvo, Polestar, and has now become the Polestar 2. Let's have a talk about styling. So we haven't really had a good look at this car since it was launched as a concept in 2016 with Volvo, and not a massive amount has changed since then. Being billed as the Tesla 3 competition, obviously styling is key in this market. It's really important for a fully electric model to punch a little bit above its weight when it comes to styling. So what do you think at this? Take a look. Well, it is a very nice, new, bold look. So that's obviously not immediately going to be to everybody's taste. This square grille is very distinctive, but I think subtle enough to blend in with the overall effect of the car. It should look stylish, but not overstated. And I really like the thin way in which these headlamps wrap into the side. It does look a little bit racy though, doesn't it? And I'm quite excited to see what all that electricity can deliver directly to the wheels. Once we come around to the side, things really start to change up a bit, and we lose a little bit of that sports car feel and head more into the area of a crossover. As you can see here, we've got plastic trim that really emphasizes the multi-utility kind of aspect of this car. Look at the size of these wheels. They're really setting and framing off the side nicely. As we come further back, we have a lot more bulk and heft than you expect from looking at the front. This is not at all sleek and minimalistic, but it does make a very impressive statement. There's a lot of solidness to that car, and I think that speaks very highly to the Volvo heritage that it comes from. The character line that runs right along the length of the body and straight through into the back really helps tie the design of the front through the side and into the rear. And as we come around the back, we can see how that finishes off the car. Once you're round at the back, you really can see how a lot of those lines that you usually only associate with the concept have managed to stay right through to the full production model. This is a very distinctive light signature that runs throughout the back, and it really does set off the styling here. Now, I can see that that might not be to everybody's taste, but it is new, modern, contemporary in its feel, and I think that really works for this car in particular. So although when you look at the rear you might think, well, is that a little bit too much? It's a very new, bold statement, so I think it's important that they keep that up in the rear as well. It works for me, but what do you think? One of the most fun things to do with new cars at motor shows is try to guess how to get into the boot. Now, I'm cheating a little bit here because I saw somebody do this before, but look at this. Now that looks really stylish, but you do have to consider how's that going to feel in the middle of winter. But don't worry, they already thought of that. Once the full production models come out, you will have contactless entry to the rear. Once you get into the rear, you can see that despite the batteries that the car is packing, there is a more than sufficiently sized rear boot. Now, I don't actually have any numbers on here, but we can have a decent look around to see. If we lift this up, we can see that we have additional storage under here. It's particularly helpful, so you can keep your boot empty normally, only for things when you need to pop them in. So more than enough room back here for a standard car of this size. And of course, nice touch control for the boot. So in concert with the design at the rear, I like the way it's been finished, I like the way it works, and I think it gives you more than enough space. What do you think? Let's have a look and see what's powering this thing. What have they done with the motor? Okay, so obviously it's an electric motor, but it is fully enclosed, so we can't bring you any great pictures of it. But needless to say, you do get a little bonus storage up here as well. What is powering this thing is a 78 kilowatt hour battery. That's giving it a mile range of approximately 275 miles. If that doesn't sound amazing, that's because don't forget they changed the standards. According to the old rules, that would have been closer and comparable to a 500 kilometer range. It's all-wheel drive, it produces 408 horsepower, and it will do 0 to 100 in 4.7 seconds. It also kicks out 660 Newton meters of torque. So it's going to give you a fair amount of bang for your buck. Still a bit sad we can't take a look at the motor. Let's take a closer look inside. Well, I think the first two things that really occur to you when you start looking at the interior of the Polestar 2 is how important it has been to express quality of material within the finish of this vehicle. This is the first car from a major mainstream manufacturer to be advertised as vegan, and that's a really significant step. Whether you're interested in that or not, it's very interesting to see how sustainability is starting to become something that manufacturers will commodify and take advantage of. For me personally, I'm always enthusiastic to see sustainability baked in wherever it can have any support. And these seats, I think, are really great. Honestly, I don't think leather's the best material when you add into it, and you really have to, the way in which it's produced. Guys, I'm not going to go on about that. I know that's not concerning to everybody, but it's exciting to see innovation coming to fabric using on seats rather than just sticking with the old thing. We're doing it with the drivetrains. Why wouldn't we be doing it with other materials as well? Right from first glance at this cockpit, you can see Volvo through and through. I know the Polestar is a separate entity. I understand that this being a fully electric car, it's a little bit different. But let's not forget, Volvo made a commitment that from 2019, they would not release a single vehicle that was not at least a hybrid. So this represents quite a bold statement about the future for the company as a whole. But how about for this car specifically? Well, I think it's fair to say that Volvo's entire lineup have always felt very contemporary. When you sit in one, it has a certain aesthetic that really speaks to you, and this car is no different whatsoever. The aesthetic is clearly going for modernity and also quality. There's lots in here that you will recognize and find familiar if you're used to other Volvo models. What is less familiar is this. Now, if that isn't a clear nod towards Tesla, I don't know what is. It's a large screen, and that's not to everybody's taste, but it does come with Android already baked into it. So you can get a very, a very familiar looking presentation here. Everything visually is very cleanly finished, and it all speaks to quality. If you look at the digital display here, it's nicely integrated. I guess the materials here might feel a little bit too modern for some people's tastes, but it is an electric car, and honestly, I think modern has to be what you're going for. Again, everything you touch feels as if it's made of a high-quality material, and it's just nicely finished. Driving position is good. It's very low within the vehicle. I feel that the vehicle wraps around me in a very solid fashion. Headspace is good. I'm 5'10" or 178 centimeters, and look at this. Fully glass panoramic roof and a whole fist's worth of height at my head. So I'm very comfortable indeed. Lots of nice feeling of control. This massive tunnel here, again, is not an unfamiliar concept. We have a storage pocket here for the driver, the automatic gear selector here, and a massive well here for phones and charging. I'm not a huge fan of these, and I hope that they might disappear for something a little bit better at some point in the future. If what we're really obsessed with is quality of material, then why would you put that on top of your USB-C charging points? Oh, I guess it's removable. I hope it's removable. Let me pop that back in. I don't know, it's a little detail, but one that I think could have been finished a little bit better. The screen looks nice, it works well. Come on, Essentially, it looks like a massive iPad, and I think that's okay. Except that, as with all technology utilized in cars, it's always a couple years behind consumer electronic products. The issue there being that as the world of phones and tablets is going borderless, well, that might seem like nothing of any consequence at all, but I have a funny feeling that that is the very first thing you're going to notice looking dated on this car after you've had one for a couple of years, because these borders, well, already you could argue don't exist on consumer products. They certainly won't be existing by the time this car is 2 years old. Further down, a very clean interface for the driver. Everything is laid out very much to be as minimalistic as is humanly possible. The sound system here is provided by Harman Kardon, and we have a very nice, low-key, easy, straight-to-access cup holder here and slidable armrest. Now, you might notice these yellow seat belts. We'll have a look in a bit more detail when we get into the back, but that is a styling feature of one of the higher end models, so they don't all necessarily come with that. That's just to tell you and your passengers, yeah, I spent a little bit more. Let's take a look and see what's happening in the back. Well, I'm happy to say that that contemporary style and use of materials is continued back here as well. It's really nice to see the innovative approach. Now, you may or may not be aware, but this car is available in fully vegan outfitting. I know that that's not exactly on everybody's top priority list, but I can assure you that it is on Thomas's. So he is very, very excited about this car. And I think it's very nice to see a premium brand really start to take that market concern seriously. For a long time, we've heard from manufacturers that they just don't have access to the materials that will finish off to the same quality as leather. And that hasn't been true for a while, but it's really nice to see a premium car outfitted with something that looks this good. If Thomas gets up really close to the back of this seat, you can see how rugged that material is. That's really going to take a beating, and it's also really going to keep clean nicely. So what's the back experience like? Well, you get lots of echoes of the way that the front is finished, and you actually get a reasonable amount of space too. I'm 5'10" or 178 centimeters in height, and with a full panoramic roof, I still have plenty of headspace back here and acres of legroom. Look at that, plenty of comfort. I have my own heating and cooling controls, and they're very distinctive and in keeping with the design from the front. And a little bit further down, I have rear heated seats. The only thing that looks a little bit dated here is this flip cover, but it hides a USB-C charge point. I'm never quite sure what the point of these flaps is. Generally speaking, the reason that they put them on 12-volt chargers is they look so deeply unappealing without having something to go over the top. But in a car this modern and forward-looking, I don't know, it just doesn't sit quite right with me. The rear of the seats has a plastic finish. It's nicely executed. It looks like good quality plastic, easy to keep clean, and it does the job well. This cargo netting is of a similar quality. It's nicely finished, so although it doesn't necessarily look like the most premium way to finish a seat, it is entirely practical, and it still has a nice aesthetic appeal. Talking of which, take a look at this. Well, I think if you're going to launch a brand new electric car, you should be offering some differentiators with it. This gold color, which is accented on some of the trim, indicates that it is one of the higher trim levels, and that comes with all kinds of interesting additional accessories, obviously always at a price. Let's have a quick chat about that. Well, at market launch, you're going to be looking at around about €59,000, but that is for one of the top models, and when we really start getting into production will be about 2020. You should be able to pick one of these up for around about €39,000. How does that compare? Well, bearing in mind that Tesla just shut down a huge amount of their showrooms in order to lower the price of their Tesla 3 to make them competitive, it's quite a bold statement for Polestar to come in at a third more money than you currently can get a Tesla 3 for. Now, they're not immune from the arguments about reducing overhead. That's why the global launch of this car took place online, as opposed to traditionally, which is shipping in journalists from all over the world to have a closer look. So I think we are looking at the start of a very different way of marketing and approaching cars. Who's going to come out on top of that argument, I'm not quite sure. But Polestar are a premium product, so I think it's reasonable they should be charging a premium for their product. And it's also going to be very interesting to see how the market responds to that level of pricing. Clearly the servicing is baked into that, and Polestar seem to think that most of its customers are going to be having some sort of leasing arrangement as opposed to outright buying. But honestly, for the unique value that I think this car represents to a lot of people, I think I can see it selling quite a lot of units right off the bat from people who just want to have one for their very own. The styling's unique, it's fresh, it's different, it's innovative, it's powerful. I think it's really quite a serious contender. So what do we think of the Polestar 2? Well, positives first. It's bold and it's innovative. Everything from the launch of this car to even the way it's being displayed here in Geneva feels fresh. And that's important, I think. This is a new market entrant, and it really is the first time we've seen a competitive car in this segment come along to really challenge Tesla's dominance. It certainly continues the conversation and takes it on somewhere a little bit further. So what's not so great? Well, I'm a little concerned about that price point. I think it's reasonable to be higher, obviously. It's a premium brand, we have a different product, it's a different approach to market. But is it enough to justify a third hike in terms of retail? I don't know. And that starting price of 59, well, that is a big hurdle, I think. But the advantage is that the people who are going to want this car are just going to want it, irrespective of what it costs. I absolutely see a future for this as a fleet vehicle. I think more and more we're going to start to see companies investing in either fully electric or at the very least hybrid fleets. This is every bit smart enough to make any sales rep feel happy pulling up outside any of their clients. It's going to look great, it's going to drive great, and it's certainly going to reinforce the message that that company wants to demonstrate. So I think that that represents a significant early bulk of sales for this manufacturer. In terms of its personal application, well, my only concern would be price point. I think from my point of view, from this year's Geneva show, for me, it's all about the fully electric Peugeot 208. That really is mass market appeal. This is a little bit more niche, and not everyone is going to be prepared to cough up that kind of money for this experience. But I'm liking the fresh approach. I'm liking the fact that we're changing the conversation about how these goods are coming to market and how we're relating to them. And I'm also liking the fact that we are starting to see more exciting, more dynamic new cars coming out in electric offerings. Well, that's my take on it, but what do you think? If you have any comments or questions on what you've seen, please pop them below. Please subscribe, and we hope we'll see you all again soon.